Hello, this is Dr. Lenny Izzo, and I am standing up today for this transmission rather than sitting as I usually do. Welcome to Getting to the Point, and I will look, as always, to keep this in a 15-minute framework. I will do the best I can. Sometimes I get going and there's a lot to say, so that's why I'm looking at the clock down here. What I'd like to talk about today, and this is the first in an ongoing series, not just getting to the point, but in this category, is energy medicine. There's a lot of confusion, I believe, out there, and the purpose of focusing on this topic, on getting to the point, is to demystify what energy medicine is all about. It's really not as complicated in principle as it appears to be, and yet the technology that's emerged up to today in 2013 is fairly complex. That is because we are complex. And as I have learned, and I'll pass on to you for those who might not realize it, every technology that we are discovering today is merely a reflection of our own innate technology. When I opened up with my business partner, Irene Siegel, the center point, this part of my career, because I started with a wellness center and then I transitioned to an attunement center, which was more energy-based healing, and then we transitioned to more of a clinical integrated center called Centerpoint. And that whole journey has been about 34 years, so here I am. But when we did open it up, the mission statement that I focused, and we both did really, was based on the relationship with human consciousness, and that all healing, the highest or the most effective or the greatest technology that we have for healing today is our own consciousness. So as we evolve forward, we're at 2013, just imagine where we will be at the end of this century. Look at where we were at the beginning of this century and look at where we are now. You know, they were talking about whether a tin mobile with these ridiculous looking wheels, these circles on them, that was run by a gas-powered engine would ever replace horse and buggy, and there was, you know, a major resistance that it never would happen. So technology is advancing as fast as ever before, and it's advancing and evolving as well as our consciousness and awareness of who we are, and that's the integration. Energy medicine is with us today because of the evolution of our own consciousness. We're waking up to what really is, and as we wake up and we translate into devices the ability to interface with the human energy field, we are also waking up to the vast amount of technology and magic, if you will, that is provided by our own existence, our own awareness through human consciousness. And so all of these energy-based technologies, and I'm speaking about energy medicine today in the beginning part of this series, from a clinical point of view, how we're transitioning from the conventional model and complementing conventional medicine, which has also been energy-based. People might not realize it, and I'll tell a quick story in a moment. But how are we evolving? Where is the cutting edge of that? And right now, in my estimation, and as I always say, is don't believe me, you know, investigate it yourself. Don't believe a word I say. Just see what resonates with you. In my experience over 34 years as an energy-based practitioner, I believe that there's at least a 20-year gap between where the cutting edge of technology is in these devices in energy medicine, particularly the sensitive imago, because it is what I believe is one of the most advanced, if not the most advanced form of this kind of device that interfaces with the person, the human being, and picks up information that you cannot get any other way. not through blood, through saliva, through x-ray, through CAT scan, through MRI. You can confirm, but you cannot pick up exactly what we do with the sensitive imago. And I use all of the technology. I don't exclude anything. This happens to be a principal tool for me to work with people. So what is the basis of it? Well, let me tell a story first about that 20-year gap. In the early 80s, I was invited down to the first MRI center, maybe on Long Island. It certainly was the first one in Suffolk County here in Huntington. And it was down in Southdown, Huntington. And I showed up there, and there were maybe under 20 of us, somewhere between 15, 18, 20 doctors. And the majority of us were chiropractors. The reason for that is chiropractors are always thinking outside the box. We go through school, 4 years of school, where we have a philosophy taught to us in the first day of school, that all healing comes from the innate intelligence within, and innate intelligence is part of universal intelligence, the God principle. That's how it is understood in chiropractic, and the adjustment in chiropractic is for the purpose of releasing innate intelligence, because it is through innate intelligence, that internal God principle, the life principle, that we heal. That's how we heal. Medicine does not have a principle based in higher purpose or higher principle. It doesn't have a foundation based in higher principle. Medicine, far from the Hippocratic Oath today, is based in pharmacology. It's based in technology that diagnoses and then treats. And that treatment is pretty much invasive, however you look at it. Doesn't mean that there are not good things that come out of it. Doesn't mean that people are not helped. But medicine is crisis care. The whole field of energy medicine is to evolve out of crisis care into a more advanced, more evolved state of health care. And energy medicine is one of the key pillars of the new model of health going forward. I say that now. It will become clear in 10, 20, 30, 40 years from now. And it will be. It absolutely will be. There's no doubt about it. So, what is the basis of energy medicine? I'm going to give you a brief introduction to how these devices work, and then my next video, I'll talk about the principles. So this could be categorized like, not like, but I think I will categorize this, energy medicine from principle to technique, And there is so much diversification. It's such an exciting field. So, where do we start? We start with the human being, and the human being, we understand now, is not just, we're not just a physical entity. We don't just have a physical body. The physical body is part of the human energy field. And you could look that up and Google that. I'm not going to get into an in-depth description of the human energy field. If you're not aware that we are not just physical, but the whole universe is energy, everything is energy, and energy, we don't lose it. It just moves up to a higher level of a higher dimension, or moves down to a lower dimension. And higher and lower is not better or worse. It's just a different place in the spectrum. We exist within a certain place in this whole cosmic spectrum. And we'll talk about that more. I did a video post blog on the this new age that we're moving into, and how we're synchronizing with a central being coming from the core of the galaxy, a spiritual waveform that's transmitted and aligning the galactic, planetary, and solar system up. The human being is directly part of that, and what in this case, what the Mayans understood was that central galactic beam, which is bringing everything into harmonic resonance, comes to focus through the 7 major endocrine glands, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And those major centers or chakras or lenses or seals, as they're called in Revelation, the 7 major seals, are the lenses from a higher power coming down and creating the human being, the human part. There is an energy field. There is an energy garment. There are an energy aura, however you define it. Right now, I'm not getting too descriptive. I just want to point out the relationship of the human energy field to the human body, to the human being, and how these technologies interface with it. That's the purpose of this video, to demystify this. We will have more videos where I will demystify the glands, the 7 chakras, the relationship of that to development and being human. It's a fascinating field, and it's where my deepest passion has been for a long time, for over 36, 37 years. So the human energy field and the information that we get from it comes from the human body. It comes from the field itself. The human energy field and the body are one. We don't have a body and then we have a field. It's one field. It's one energy component, differentiated through different frequencies. So the relationship of the human energy field, the human body, also has a connection or relatedness to the superconscious or subconscious. So what that means is that information is constantly being exchanged. That's how all the functions of the body work. Your mind is not telling you, to digest the meal you just had, or to how many times your left brain is not telling you how many times your heart should beat. It's transmitted through the brain, but it comes from another source, an innate source. And this gets very specific when we understand the mystical part of who we are as human beings. For now, just know that there's a relationship, and in that relationship there's an internal wisdom, and in that internal wisdom is all the information we need to know. And natural healing is about removing the interference pattern to that internal wisdom so that life could flow freely. That's what these energy-based technologies are. These energy-based technologies are not strictly for the purpose of treating symptoms. They are for the purpose of identifying where the interference patterns are and then removing them through the energetic matrix and through the energetic technology, because there's tremendous benefit in changing the pattern in the energy field as a way of changing what goes on in the body. And the principle behind that is that as above, so below. So when you change your pattern energetically at a higher frequency, and in my next video I'll define frequency for you. I can't do it all in 15 minutes. The frequency in the energy field really determines the health and homeostasis of the body. Our mind is a greater frequency and field than the form. All right? I learned a long time ago, you can really never have a mind without the body in this creation, in this design as a human being. I've seen a lot of bodies without minds, but you cannot have the mind of a human being without the body. So there's a higher field. The mental body gives birth to what's below it. So as we change our thoughts, our feelings, our lifestyle, our relationship to the earth, which is all in alignment with the natural principle, as we move back to nature, we heal. These energy devices help us define what interferes with this process of alignment and harmonic resonance and attunement with the innate intelligence that from where all healing comes from. How does it do that? Simply, these devices have evolved over the last 60 years in particular, and they interface with the human energy field so that there's an exchange of information, and that information is exchanged based on the technology. The particular technology of the sensitive imago has come out of principally the Russian research that was done since the 60s and 70s and 80s, before the Soviet Union broke apart. This information was well contained by the KBG, the medical science division of the KBG. It got disseminated now, and it's like everything else. It is information that's out there, and what came out of it was the development of a number of different devices, the sensitive imago being the most advanced one in my perception and my experience. So the device has an exchange of information, and we do that through three different channels. We do it through sound, which stimulates the midbrain, the subcortical part of the brain, and differentiates a signal, a frequency to any part of the body, and then we get a frequency that comes back, and through those sounds, and that exchange of information is registered through the imago, and we've been able now in 2013 to take that energetic signature or frequency and transform it into a digital computer language. Brilliant. It's brilliant. So now we can see on the screen. The computer, remember, is a reflection of consciousness, and we're moving towards, at some point, I would imagine, we'd be able to put our hand on it, and I did this for years, and you can get a lot of that information. What I find is the computer can differentiate it. Some people can do this very well. I'm also an intuitive, a medical intuitive, or an intuitive healer, so I get a lot of information through intuition. And I don't get the specificity that the imago can pinpoint for me, and I'll give you an example before we leave today. So you have this trinity, this triad pattern. You've got the human being, conscious and subconscious, superconscious, subconscious, information that's constantly being processed from moment to moment. A device that can interface. The sensitive imago is the most advanced. It does it through bioresonance, through sound, through infrared light, and through what's called electric current, through skin resistance, galvanic skin resistance. We take those three channels, we composite all that information, pass it on to the computer, and the software programs that are developed today are just as sophisticated as the device. And so with the onset of computer languaging, I mean, you look at what that really is. We can take bits of information and make sense of it to the left and right brain in a way that before computers we couldn't do. So all of this is about the evolution of human consciousness. The evolution of human consciousness is producing an evolution of technology, just like we've always had. We are evolving. And energy medicine, friends, is here to stay. It makes sense to embrace it and demystify it and understand how it can help you, not hurt you. These are devices, and it's never the device itself. It is always the technology in the hands of the right individual, the hands of the healer. And when you're looking for an energy-based practitioner, you want to look at the person, not just the technology. The purpose of these technologies is not to just treat. It is to free the individual from the interference patterns that are plaguing that person and that process and that condition. Quick story, 58-year-old man comes to see me last week. He was referred by a friend, has a diagnosis already of multiple sclerosis. I know what's behind that even without looking through the imago, but the imago just validates, bioresonance therapy just validates it. And it's an autoimmune issue. If you ask the brilliant mind of medicine, they'll say, we don't know what creates this autoimmunity yet. You know, we believe it could be viral, maybe underlining it, could be this. Some thoughts are beginning to be accepted, not through double-blind studies yet. They will never do it that way. But by practice of MDs, there's a whole community of MDs I'm connected with that understand this, that underlining an autoimmune issue, there are certain factors that trigger the immune system. In MS, in my experience, and don't believe me, as I say all the time, there will always be some kind of underlying viral issue that will be significantly impacting that immune response, as well as heavy metals, as well as other kind of infections, as well as nutrient deficiencies, as well as a certain mindset. It's a whole composite. It's not one thing. In energy medicine, there's no one cause for disease or degeneration. There's no one cause. It just doesn't happen in nature. Medicine looks for that one cause so they can find the single magic bullet. There isn't any. Isn't any. You've got to realize that. And if you're looking for one cause, you're off track. We are multi-dimensional beings. And energy medicine is opening up a multi-dimensional lens. So in this category, we saw exactly what was underlining heavy metal toxicity, a lot of environmental issues, pesticide, and significant viral burden. Is that the only cause? No, but until you remove that, you're going to continue to have a neurological demyelinization of that sheath that surrounds the nerve. It just doesn't break down. We're not just coded for disease. We're coded for health. So energy medicine is here to stay, friends. This is my first transmission on demystifying energy medicine from principle to practice. I'll be back next time and I'll talk a little bit more about the relationship between the particle and the wave, more of the quantum physics that is underlining the basis of all energy medicine moving forward. God bless you in your healing journey. This is Lenny Izzo signing off for now, and I'll see you next time on Getting to the Point.